Before we begin, thank you very much to Small Convoy for pitching in over on Ko-fi. Thank you very much. We had Big Convoy donate yesterday. So Small Convoy, not to be outdone, went to the other way of supporting the channel and pitched in there. So yes, if you'd like to pitch in monthly, there is the Patreon that helps keep everything afloat. And then there is Ko-fi, which is nice if you just want to do like a one-time tip thing. Either gets you a shout out, and people use it to make me say silly things or to get away with little bits, and I appreciate it no matter what. Thank you very much, Small Convoy. Okay. We have more looking back at 2025 to do today. This is in the format of 5 good and 5 bad. So we are going to be going back and forth between some bad stuff, some good stuff, to kind of give a balanced look at some of the biggest news stories in Transformers over the last year. Obviously, I'm going to miss a few things. This is just what was in my, my vision, my view of everything. But it's just a nice little reminder of everything that we got through this year, and gives us a little perspective going into 2026. And it's going to start with the big news that we began the year with, which was we officially found out that Transformers Reactivate was deactivated. The studio canceled the game completely. Splash Damage downsized their entire studio. And this is a blow. This was the first time any developer was actually taking Transformers seriously as a game. They weren't just doing a movie cash-in or something. And they were genuinely trying to do something that would be considered a AAA level title. They were trying to give us top tier gameplay, visuals, etc. And it's unfortunate. We're still in that phase of I really want to know what happened. I think everyone was waiting 6 months for no competes or contractual silence to break, but I haven't seen any interviews with anyone who is developing since then. And I'm sure that there are people scrambling to figure out exactly, to be the ones to get the first words from the developers on what actually went on, because there was so much chaos. I found for weeks after this cancellation, we just kept hearing different scenarios about why the game never made it out or why the game got stuck in development hell. I still want to know, and those people should now be available to talk. I might have to knock on some doors myself. So, yeah. I'm really bummed out. We still don't have a good Transformer game on the horizon. And apparently those rumors of Activision getting the War for Cybertron games back online, that ain't happening either. So I'm just kind of in a drought of can I please get a good Transformer game again? Please, please, please. We continue to wait. Now, on the upside, 2025 is when we found out that we were finally getting a Haslab of Lio Kaiser. And this was great. Okay, so this was a really exciting moment, especially for me, because I've been one of those that have been campaigning for Lio Kaiser to make it there for a long, long time. Even before, like in the earliest days of Haslab, my brain was going I don't think Lio Kaiser would work at retail level because he's got too many gimmicks, and I don't think they could big box him the way they did Predaking, because he's using so many different plastic colors. That's a lot of different molds to be used. So this would have to be Haslab. It's the only way that makes sense. So I was super excited. Super excited. I was one of those where every time a Haslab was announced to go, but it's not Lio Kaiser. Because he's always been one of the coolest combiners. And then they did one for Combiner Wars as a box set, and it sucked. Because we have a weird repaint of Skylinks in the center, and that awful Brawl mold taking up both legs. But hey, it took a while. But this year, we finally got it. And the set has everything we could have possibly asked for. Death Cobra, of all characters, is getting a toy in this set. He's got his electromagnetic nunchucks. He's got the display stand. All the chess beasts are there. Breast Force, whatever you want to call them. It's got literally everything. And, and even during development, they showed how they were improving the mold, even though, the design was basically finalized, which is great to see. Absolutely great to see. So this was a culmination of years of fans asking for Lio Kaiser as an actual release and a good one. And we're finally getting it, and it'll be out this year. Well, I guess as of this recording, 2026. Let's not get ahead of myself. We are all super excited for it. Kinda. Haslab was marred this year by the incident with Omega Prime, something I can only describe as a complete and total fiasco. So, we've been over this so many times on the channel this year. All the a lot of the Haslab Omega Primes came in with multiple QC issues. The most notable of which would be that some people had yellowing on their Ultra Magnus right out of the box, and some people, a lot of people, including me, got an Optimus Prime whose belly was already cracked right out of the box, because the slider joint inside the torso for transformation was so tight that it was actually bursting out of the plastic it was installed in. And it was also breaking some of the friction teeth that were on the inside of the toy as well. Not acceptable in the least. No idea how this happened. Now, QC issues happen all the time. Usually it's like easy enough to just like suss out early and fix, like even during like the same production run of one toy. Sometimes they catch it and fix it for, a packaging refresh or even just a second run of that wave. So normally not a big issue, but on a one-off piece that's made to order, that's an enormous thing to get wrong. Now, I will credit Hasbro. They did the best possible solution they could. If your Magnus was yellowing, they replaced the whole Magnus. If your Optimus Prime had cracks in the belly, they sent you a brand new base Optimus Prime. Like none of the combiner parts, but just the base figure. They sent you a brand new one that had the fix done in advance, so it didn't break anything, and you had a fully intact working Optimus Prime. I will give them all the credit in the world. They went with the most expensive solution because this was after tariffs, so shipping this over was going to be expensive for no profit. I guarantee you they made no money off of this Haslab for the solution that they had to go through just to make sure everybody was happy. What the bigger issue was they took so long to tell us what the solution was going to be. They went from, oh, just return it, send it to us, and we'll fix it up, to, no, hang on to it, we're figuring it out. And then months of radio silence before they actually had something in mind. They actually had a plan. But hey, we hope this is a learning experience for them. I'm hoping that they learn this lesson and that Lio Kaiser's QC is going to be way, way more tight and way, way more attentive. Now, good news. We found out that we are going to be getting a TV series based on the Skybound Transformer comics, specifically the Energon universe as a whole, including Transformers, G.I. Joe, and potentially even Void Rivals. Now, we have been after a adult-focused Transformers cartoon for a long, long time. Like, the older collectors want some kind of media that is nostalgic and familiar, but is also designed specifically for them. And any time that we have had, like, Transformers for adults as a media offering, it usually doesn't go well. We saw the Machinima series that was described as the Game of Thrones of Transformers, according to its producer, which turned out to be one of the worst pieces of Transformers media ever dedicated to a screen. So you have no real example of like a good Transformers cartoon that's aimed for an older audience. The Netflix one is passable at times, but ultimately also not great. But this is Skybound. They have a past. They have connections. They have history. We know from the Invincible cartoon, they know how to make an adult cartoon that's serious and accurate to the comic book source material. So that might be what we get, and that's hopefully what we get, because I would love to see this particular universe brought to full animation. It's a very, very exciting thing. So next year is when we should find out if someone actually picked that show up for an option. And considering it's Transformers and considering the track record of Skybound, I don't think that's going to be an issue. Even the people in charge of this show are really, really good and that have like proven track records. There shouldn't be any issue for this to actually make it to a a TV or a computer screen. But fingers crossed, we'll have to wait and find out. We'll probably find out sometime 2026. It's probably going to be a while before it's actually watchable. But hey, we know the ball is rolling. On the other hand, cartoon-wise, we did have to endure the last of Earthspark. Now, you know me. I like Earthspark on the whole. Season 1, huge fan of what they were doing. Really liked the characters. Really liked the changes that they were doing. They put out a version of Tarantula, so I got really attached to, even after only one episode. Their take on Starscream as an abuse survivor is a thing that should have existed from the beginning, because that's how Megatron and Starscream's relationship is always framed. So to have a show actually put that up front and actually potentially do something with it was super exciting. It all went downhill because the writers changed and the new writers just wanted to take everything back to simple status quo. And then it culminated this year in the Earthspark finale movies, which I was really excited for, because I thought, here's your chance to tie up all the loose ends and tell one really last good story, because I know this universe is capable of telling really good stories. And it's just disappointing. It's really disappointing. I don't like seeing Hot Rod as a villain for so much of it. I don't like how Robbie's characterization was rewound so far back for the sake of having just like, I'm being bullied as a plot line. I don't like half of it feeling very low stakes. I don't like, suffice to say, I don't like a lot of the choices they made. But the idea at the end of like trying to make this show go full circle by turning Megatron back into a Decepticon, and like having one of those like the adventure continues type endings, that I do not like at all. When the whole point of the story was to show how the Transformers were after the war, I think it is absolutely the wrong call to have a story conclusion with the war is just going to turn back on. We're just going to go back to do the war again. I hate that. I hate that. It's such the antithesis of what that show set out to do. So yeah, and the ending in a lot of ways really marred my overall view of the show. There's still pieces that I liked, and I do want to pull things out for further examination in like full scale video. But for now, yeah, there's still a bad taste in my mouth on that one. Good news! Studio Series is getting the Titan class next year. This is a huge shift because we're so used to being a generations thing, and we're just kind of coming up with what Combiner or CityBot they can do next. Or, just what gigantic figure that is not, that is still somewhat slightly in scale with the Transformer cast. Who can we do? And that's been on my mind. That's been like the discussion for so long. But they've done basically every city, everything that's that big. Even downsizing it so that they could do like Star Optimus Prime as a Titan. I'm still hard pressed to figure out who else could actually be Titans in this regard. So yeah, now we have Studio Series taking a crack at it, and we're getting a Grimlock that's big enough for the leader class Optimus Prime to ride on his back in accurate scale, and that is absolutely ridiculous. I am not a fan of the characterization of Grimlock in the live action movies. I'm not really, but I can't deny a T-Rex made of shrapnel does look really, really cool. And I do like his previous leader class toy in Studio Series. I thought that was a really, really cool figure too. This one is going to be absolutely gigantic. And that just sounds like fun. Even if I'm not big on the movie he came from, it still just sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun to have a T-Rex toy that big that can still transform. So I'm looking forward to it, though it does mean that Titans are now basically tied up in Studio Series for the next 4 years. They might take a break at some point and offer like, oh, I don't know. We might look at that and get like, oh, who is left? A Grandis, maybe. A new Fortress Maximus would be great, one that doesn't suck. A more up-to-date Metroplex that's a little bit better scaled and proportioned. And isn't based on some like super exaggerated design. That would be really nice too. But we know they're going to be doing Dinobots for the foreseeable future. So we're probably getting Strafe next. We're probably getting Slug next. And then we have to figure out where Strafe's going to be because it's a Pteranodon. It's a lot thinner than most. You might be able to get him into like a Commander instead. Don't know. It's curious. But it definitely gives us a lot to look forward to. But that said, there's going to be caveats to that. The bad of the year was the prices were going up. And it wasn't so much the fact that, deluxes went up, $3 and, leader class went up $5. That's pretty in line with a lot of our previous price hikes. So that's not terribly surprising. It was Voyagers going up to $42.99 a piece that really kind of set all of us back. Like, what do you mean? Like, that's completely out of scale. The other, that's like $8 up from where it used to be, compared to everybody else's $3 to $5. Why was that one hiked up so much? And it's hiked up to actually put it in the middle, to be in between the leader class and the deluxe class. I want everyone to remember the Voyager class was never meant to be in the middle of those two. When we had deluxes and Voyagers, like in animated, there was always a huge gap between those and leader class because we used to have ultra class. There'd be that one more size class that's in between Voyager and leader to give you those big heavy characters that aren't necessarily leader class heavy. So there's always supposed to be that gap. It's supposed to have a big price difference from one to the other. But they wanted it leveled out, and that's what they got. Do I think any Voyager coming out is actually worth that $43? Probably not. I'll tell you this. Today, I canceled my Studio Series Alpha Trion. Because, yeah, I think that's a cool design, but nothing in me is in love with that Alpha Trion enough to pay that kind of price for it. I'm sure I'm not going to be the only one. I can see people just keeping the deluxe pre-orders. I can see people paying $60 for a leader begrudgingly. But man, $43 for a Voyager sounds so bad. It sounds so bad. Now we know why these prices went up. It sucks. Hopefully it's a situation that is not permanent. But the bad side here is that if they still make profit, if this still sells well, even at these high prices, even if the tariffs go away for whatever reason, they're not going to bring the prices back down. Once they figure out we'll still pay it, they'll keep it that way no matter what. That's corporate. If you don't like it, vote with your wallet. I'm completely okay with that. Me, this is my job. I kind of have to keep buying it. But speaking of things I am looking forward to buying next year, we got together and we voted to make Shockwave a whale because we have irony like that. For all of our Skybound readers out there, we know irony when we see it. So, this was the activate your alt mode, where we got to vote on characters that were going to get completely new alt modes and then have a toy based on it. So we saw different design, like they came out and said we had different designs for Shockwave, including like a squid, which would have been neat. But they settled on a whale because they wanted it to be something that they had never done a Transformer toy of before. And considering this is going to be a very weird Shockwave for a lot of people, I think doing something completely different from the past in the franchise is the right call. I am seriously looking forward to this. But more so than just looking forward to a unique toy, I am also looking forward to seeing the reaction. And if this toy does well, it opens the door for more Transformers to be in this style. It's a way of showing Hasbro we're okay with them doing different things. Because ultimately, we want new, fresh experiences with our toys, even if they're familiar characters. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing how it does, because so far it seems like everyone is hyped up and excited for Shockwave, and so am I. Now, I marked this one as bad because this is my personal opinion that it is bad. Live action fans, look away for my final bad entry of the video, because this is just me personally, okay? Michael Bay is coming back to the franchise. I know TJ's hating on the live action again. Hear me out, though. Hear me out, though. This isn't just me. Like, okay, full disclosure, I don't really like the live action aesthetic, and I do not like the writing in Michael Bay's movies. I just flat out do not. I think it is lowbrow, very simplistic, and ultimately just juvenile in more ways than just in comedy. But this seems to be Paramount and Hasbro and Bonaventura all hitting a panic button because the Transformer movies aren't doing well at all. And they think the problem now is that the movies were making lots of money when Michael Bay was directing, so Michael Bay needs to come back as the director, forgetting that this whole franchise started going downhill under his watch, you know? So the trick to this is, yes, it could still be good. I'm not saying it won't be, but I have a lot of reservations, and I do not feel comfortable with it, because I genuinely feel like the real reason Transformer movies are flopping now is because the audience is just super burned out. Not just on live-action Transformer movies themselves, the same way they're burned out on Marvel movies right now, but also they're just bad movies. Like, they are not, like, they're like, okay, Transformer fans, we're dedicated, we're diehard, we'll see the good in any little bit of Transformer media we can. But, and that's fine, by the way. But to the general audience, to the consumer, to the critic, to all of them, the movies are just bad. You know, the dialogue is bad. The cinematography is bad. I don't know why everything is orange. And I don't know why there's pointless slow motion in here. I don't know why the Transformers look like gray hunks of shrapnel that I can't tell apart. All Michael Bay things. And because so many of the movies are just known to be bad, a lot of people aren't willing to take the money and take the risk on, you know, having an expensive night out of the movies, all for the sake of getting yet another bad Transformer movie. We really need a break from the franchise. We need to just, like, put the movies down for a few years and then reapproach them with fresh eyes, not go back to what has already been proven to not work. You know? So I'm not optimistic. I fully admit this could turn out great. You know, just the name Michael Bay being on the movie poster might bring in, you know, $1 billion and everything's completely great. But I ain't counting on it. I ain't counting on it. But admittedly, this hasn't truly happened yet, so it's 50-50 on whether or not it really is bad or not. We will have to see. And unfortunately, we won't be able to see probably until 2027. But I'm going to end us off on a good note. So with the cancellation of Earthspark, both Hasbro and Takara had to scramble to figure out what the replacement was going to be. So you had a lot shorter lead-up time to what they were actually going to produce. They went in completely different directions. Takara produced Transformers Wild King, and Hasbro produced Transformers Cyberworld. Both had the idea of simple, inexpensive toys that were gimmick-driven, that were featured in a 5-minute web series. Little 5-minute episodes, right? So, I find that both, despite being very rushed, despite being like last minute, like we got to replace something that gets canceled, both of them feel very good for what they are trying to do. You know, Cyberworld's toys are relatively inoffensive. They are very simple, as they are definitely designed to be little kids' toys, but there's a few of them out there that do make nice little fiddle toys, and sometimes you don't need crazy levels of articulation or even show accuracy to enjoy a toy. Sometimes it's nice to just have something on a desk that you can just go, boop, boop, oh, I got my robot, boop, boop, oh, got my truck. Sometimes it's just nice to have simple, you know, quick, efficient. Yeah, and then where I find the play value with them intermixing with the bigger toys is a little bit lacking. not quite as engaging to me as it probably would be a little kid. The opposite is true on Wild King. I love the integration with the larger toys there. It's Scramble City, but also taken to the nth degree. Any of them can be arms and legs. Some of them can also be wing packs. And then there's all the additional parts and all the ports that are available. You're basically just able to create the combiner the way you want to create them. What do you want decorating Prime's chest? What do you want decorating his shoulders? What weapon do you want him to use? You basically have your choice of like whatever it's going to be. That makes for a really fun, engaging toy line. And the fact that all of it is so interchangeable and intercompatible with each other makes it so much better. So yeah, toys, absolutely fantastic. I have a ton of fun with Wild King figures. And then you have the flip side of this, where Wild King has a web series that's okay, but very obviously rushed and heavily budgeted. Characters don't even open their mouths when they speak. Their eyes flash instead. Over here, Cyberworld is a really fun 5-minute sit. You can watch, like, there's 19 episodes right now, and you can watch all of them in less than 2 hours. And you know what? It's actually pretty fun. Like, it means the pacing is really quick, doesn't waste its time with anything. Characters are fun. There's little funny moments in there that remind me of, like, G1 sight gags. It's actually a pretty well done show, considering it was done with notable limitations and a notably short amount of time. So I find both franchises have flourished in their own ways, whether that's just being good on the toy aisle or being good on the web series. Both have done well, and I think Hasbro and Takara both deserve a lot of credit for getting this one right, despite everything that says this should have gone wrong. So that's going to be it. That is my 5 good and 5 bad. Our little back and forth ping pong discussion, but this covering the entirety of 2025. So we'll take this knowledge into next year, see what happens. There's stuff to be excited for, stuff to be nervous about, but we will be there together. So, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.